We're starting off 2025 with a bang on this episode of The Extra Point. We only have 3 games on the docket today, but boy, are they big ones. It's The Extra Point, and it starts right now. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Extra Point. I'm your host, Griffin Barfield, over here at the panelist desk. Once again, we have 4 panelists ready to express their views on probably the biggest 3 games of this week coming up. To my right, Jordan York and Kane Fox. To my left, Drew Landon and Brian Warner. Guys, I mean, it's been a while since we've done this, and I know that there have been a little bit of spaces and whatnot. College football playoff has happened, NFL, wild card, whatnot has gone on. But we're only going to be talking about 3 games today. Next week, we'll do a little bit more of what we've thought of the college football playoff, NFL playoffs, what we think about the coaching. A lot of those hires are kind of going on right now. So let's just jump right in it because these three games are quite big ones. We'll start in the game that's happening in under an hour now. You'll know what's going on after this game before this is gone. It's number 8, Ohio State, and number 7, Notre Dame. Ohio State kind of ran the table, beat Tennessee, beat Oregon, and then they took the top off of Texas. Meanwhile, Notre Dame, a little bit of a different side, beat Indiana on their home turf, went to beat Georgia, went and beat Penn State, and here we are. I mean, did we think that this was going to be the matchup, 2 months ago?
Absolutely not.
Not at all.
No? Yeah, no. I completely agree with you guys. But we got Ohio State, we got Notre Dame. We're doing a pick-em, just 3 games once again tonight. So what do we got?
I'll lead this one off. I think the winner is technically Ohio State, but it should just go to Jeremiah Smith. I think that the turnaround for this Ohio State team came when they realized it's a good idea to throw the best receiver in the country that's a freshman to football, because they, for some stupid reason weren't doing that as much in the regular season, but they figured out the blueprint against Tennessee and against Oregon to use him to jump out early. And then when he shut down against Texas, their 3rd best receiver in Carnell Tate has a ridiculous day like Jeremiah Smith had the first couple games. And it just shows there are too many weapons for this Ohio State team. And Notre Dame's defense is great. I'll give them a lot of credit. But they had a favorable draw to get here. They had Indiana, who no one really thought belonged. They had Georgia with a backup quarterback. And they had Penn State with Drew Outler. And he is not a top 5 quarterback. So with that being said, it all adds up to Ohio State winning, Ryan Day being off the hot seat, and looking to defend the crown next season.
I can follow that up by telling a story. 10 years ago, the college football playoff changed its format to a 4-man team. And in that year, it was Ohio State versus Oregon. And Ohio State won that game, and they did not win a national championship for the next 10 years. And it caused another change in the format for them to be back here. So I think the real winner of this game will be Ryan Day's resume with a win. They'll keep him employed. It'll be a huge mistake, and Ohio State will not win another national championship for a long time.
I believe Will Howard deserves some attention because good for him for making a comeback on the big stage for sure. He had a little up and down. He had some hard moments, some tough moments, but he's came back now. I feel like a big point will be Notre Dame's kicking. They've really struggled in the kicking game, not recently, but like throughout the regular season they struggled with that. Notre Dame also has one of the worst 3rd down conversions, ranking 133rd out of 134 teams. So 2nd to last in 3rd down conversions. However, they do rank number 1 for points off of turnovers, but I don't see Will Howard really turning over the ball that much, so I have Ohio in this one.
Who's the one team that's behind them?
Probably Kennesaw State, if I had to guess.
No, because Kennesaw State beat unbeaten Liberty, so I bet it's somebody even worse than that.
I forgot they did. I thought they lost the entire season.
Yeah. So I feel like it's got to be somebody like maybe Florida State.
It could be Florida State.
That'd be kind of funny.
It could be like,
I don't know. I feel like Florida State.
No, it's definitely.
No, because the Florida State was a game that they came back and won.
No, it's definitely going to be somebody that like we have no idea who they are. We're going to hear their name and be like, oh yeah, they're 2-10.
Not right now. It's regular season, so it'll be harder to find for sure. So come back to me in a bit.
Okay, if you can find it, that'd be great.
We'll hedge our bets.
I don't like this at all right now because I have Ohio State too, and we don't have the greatest history of all of us picking the exact same school and that school winning. But I do think they're just unstoppable. They had a great resume. They beat Tennessee 42-17. They beat Oregon 41-21, leading 34-0 in the second quarter with like 7 minutes left. I thought they were going to score 100. I'm not going to lie. I thought they were going to be like putting up crazy numbers. But when you look at it, I do think Ohio State's just built better. They're all around better. The paper, if you look at paper like alone, they are better in every category. If you look at their performance, their tapes, they're better in every category. The one thing that validates Notre Dame, which I get the Indiana, Georgia, so forth, you do have to look at the offense. The defense of Notre Dame did face a number 1 Indiana team. So there was a reason that they were there. It was one of the most prolific offenses. Granted, we all agree their schedule wasn't the strongest. The Indiana game's kind of a fluke. You had home field advantage. But when you go to Georgia, their defense wasn't really missing a lot of pieces and even includes a top 10 pick in Malachi Starks, or at least a bona fide first rounder in that defensive backfield. They were still able to attack them and win. Plus, Kirby Smart has a great resume in the playoffs, especially recently. So I think you can't discredit the Notre Dame offense for attacking them, but you can discredit the defense for facing a first-time starter in Gunnar Stockton. I'll let you go, and then I'll get to the second one. But yeah.
The only reason I'm going to counter that point, specifically about the Sugar Bowl, is because if you watch the game, they kicked 2 field goals. They drove down and got stuff, kicked 2 field goals. Then their only touchdown in the first half came off of a pick that was thrown at Georgia's own 12-yard line. So it resulted in a 10-yard touchdown pass on the first play.
Correct.
They could not sustain drives against Georgia's defense. Fortunately, they didn't need to because Georgia's offense couldn't get anything going. And it was Gunnar Stockton's first game. Obviously, a lot of pressure playing in front of 70,000 people. I think he will be much better next season. But I think when you're looking at this Notre Dame team, the only shot they have to win this game in about an hour is if they can establish dominance on the offensive line, if they can just pound the ball down Ohio State's throat. And Texas couldn't do it, so I don't think Notre Dame can.
Correct, and that's where I'm like, I do agree. I don't think Notre Dame's going to be able to come over those humps, but it's not like they were playing nobodies. They're still playing one of the top defenses, because then you go from Georgia's defense to Penn State, who is arguably top 5. Thank you, Tom Allen, for coming over. I was very happy with that one, to Clemson. But either way, that was their defensive coordinator. They faced another top 5 and were able to pull it out. Granted, they didn't look sharp, they didn't look great, and probably one of the best college football runs I've ever seen was Jeremiah Love 4 yards out when he freaking breaks half the team's tackles. But it's not like they were playing a schedule similar to Texas, where it's going to a Clemson team that's very young, that some argue shouldn't be there, and a Arizona State team. Or even for Penn State and SMU and Boise State. They played notable and tough matchups, but I think their luck, the Irish's luck, is going to run out, and I don't think they'll win this game.
I mean, I think it's a really, like you said, it's a little bit bad luck that everyone on the panel. I'm going to go ahead and say Ohio State. I mean, there's 2 names that none of you have said over the course of this kind of whole breakdown, and that's Quinshad Judkins and TreVeyon Henderson. TreVeyon Henderson came back last year. Quinshad Judkins, obviously, Ryan Day threw him the bag from Ole Miss. I mean, I thought Judkins was a guy that I loved last year. And they've been guys that have just been able to find the end zone, been able to just extend plays. TreVeyon Henderson, obviously, the big one against Oregon in the Rose Bowl, and then Quinshad Judkins, I believe, scored 2 touchdowns against Texas in the Cotton Bowl. So those are 2 guys I think you're going to watch, especially with a game that script shows it's probably going to be a running game, especially with how Notre Dame plays. I do think that Ohio State's going to take this game.
The roster's so deep, we forgot 2 of their stars.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
like insane. Like we're talking about wide receivers, and you're missing 2 of the top running backs. One, which is returning, he's a sophomore. Mm-hmm. That's Judkins.
I'm going to give you, but there's one very, very simple reason why Notre Dame is going to lose this game.
It's like a Notre Dame hate show right now, but go ahead. From all of us, not just from you.
It is not Notre Dame's fault. Well, it completely is. But Oregon was telling Ohio State ahead of time. Like Jeremiah Smith told Oregon, do not play man coverage. You will regret it. Oregon played man coverage. They regretted it. Notre Dame said they are going to play man coverage. They are going to go one-on-one with Jeremiah Smith, believing that their corner is better than Jeremiah Smith. We've already seen teams try to do that, and it doesn't work out. It's not going to work out tonight. So unless they're completely fooling us and they're going to double-team Jeremiah Smith, if it's Jeremiah Smith versus anybody, I'm taking Jeremiah Smith.
I mean,
can anybody, before we break, can anyone think of a cornerback, not a safety, because I know Xavier Watts, he'll be an NFL draft pick. Does anyone know one corner on Notre Dame?
No. The only one I can think of is the one that had the Chinese letters on the back of his jersey.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, but that's the only.
He may have been a linebacker.
I don't think he even plays though.
That's the only.
One of the sickest pictures I've ever seen.
Anyway, to my point, but can you have one
Yes,
as well?
you're right.
yeah, I think since we're all like hating on Notre Dame, I will offer some hatred for Ohio State. I think their biggest enemy is themselves. We have seen Ryan Day in the brightest lights on the biggest stage kind of crumble and fall. And I think that there's been like a suspicious amount of time leading up to this game where you can see any team with a questionable head coach start to fall apart. It happened against Michigan where they crushed Indiana just a week before. What was the score, like 66 to something?
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it was insane. They destroyed a number 5 ranked Indiana, I think at the time, and then walked home and showed up by Michigan because they were playing scared because the lights were bright and they didn't want to lose to their rival. And Will Howard had a bad game because they called bad plays for him. So I think if Notre Dame does show up and Ohio State has like nerves walking into this one, they will lose. But I think that's the only thing that could happen to give Notre Dame a fighting chance.
Before we start, though, I have a question. Is it crazy to think that this might be the worst year we'll ever see of Notre Dame in the playoffs? And let me kind of preface what I'm saying. There's a new stipulation in college football where you get money for each round you make. Notre Dame's going to walk out of here, win or lose, with $20 million to add to their specific school. Now, the millions of dollars usually goes to a conference, but Notre Dame is independent. So they're going to get every single one of those dollars to their own school, and they can put it directly into their NIL deals, which means that they can start now attracting bigger transfers, attracting bigger freshmen. Is it crazy to say that Notre Dame can dominate if they don't change this rule for the next 5, 10 years, or however long this will go?
I think any player, if you're someone in the transfer portal, why don't you want to play under Marcus Freeman?
He's a great young coach, 38 years old.
38 years old. I think that he's an incredible coach. He kind of has that team in a grasp that, it's not a bad grasp. It's a very, very good grasp. It only makes me think of the video where Brian Kelly leaves their locker room and then Marcus Freeman runs in and all the players go crazy. That's kind of the start, number one. You want to play for a coach. Why not play for Marcus Freeman?
Marcus Freeman is a great coach, and he's done a lot of great things for this Notre Dame program, especially after losing to Northern Illinois earlier this year, and everybody kind of wrote him off. He's like, hey, we're still here. Don't forget about us. But to your point about the millions of dollars thingy, while that is true, that's also a little bit slanted, and what they don't tell you is that money actually has to be split proportionally throughout the school's athletics. Otherwise, it could be like a Title IX violation, and then they incur a bunch of additional penalties. So it's not as substantial as it seems, but still, considering they're getting 20 whole million versus like if Clemson had done it, it would have all been split among the ACC. So it would have been like 1.8, and then it would have had to be like 900,000, which is nothing compared to what Notre Dame. So still a huge difference. But I just don't feel like, yes, Marcus Freeman is a great coach, but there's better coaches out there. There's better coaches, there's better environments, there's better systems, there's better programs with proven history of winning, especially as of late. So I feel like if I'm a 5-star recruit and I'm looking at schools that I want to go to, I'm thinking Ohio State, I'm thinking Clemson, I'm thinking Texas, I'm thinking Alabama, I'm thinking Georgia, I'm thinking Oregon. Notre Dame is at best 8th. And that's just not, I feel like while it could be good for their recruiting and it will be a little better because they'll have more money to hey, here's $8 million, come play for the Fighting Irish. It just doesn't seem like it's, I personally, and granted it's just me obviously, but I just don't see Notre Dame as a top 8 program. I don't.
That's fair. I'm just curious because now you have this whole new stipulation. NIL is obviously running the country. They're trying to put regulations on it, but...
And the last time Notre Dame was in a national championship, they came in as favorite and lost by 28. So.
Got smoked. Yeah. Alabama. I remember that Eddie Lacy game.
Eddie Lacy, good.
Yeah,
Eddie Lacy mentioned that.
I remember that game. He ran all over Notre Dame.
Madden Mobile hero in 2015.
Oh my God. now you're just bringing back memories. We're kind of moving into the Madden, the NFL type environment, but I do think that tonight's game is going to be very good. I think that we kind of all have the same thought here. We all think that Notre Dame, we're kind of like, what? There could be better teams that are here, but here we are, and we have no idea what game is coming. Maybe we'll be talking about a Notre Dame win next week, but
we could.
You never know.
It could be worse. It could be Penn State, Ohio State. Who would watch it?
That's
could be Big Ten.
It's very weak too. So.
Could be Indiana. If they somehow made it all the way there, but
America's team.
Let's
Georgia or Clemson, SMU. We could have had a rerun.
We could have had an ACC championship
ACC revenge tour
in Atlanta. Oh boy. Let's move on. Let's move on to the NFL. Obviously, it's conference championship weekend. We have 4 teams remaining for the chance to win a Super Bowl. One of them is a little bit different than the other. We'll start with the one that's a little bit different in terms of one of the teams, and that's the Washington Commanders. I mean, let's take a month, 2 months away from now. Do we think that the Commanders, again, would have been in the NFC Championship game right now?
Absolutely not.
No.
I texted my friend. I was like, I can't believe I'm actually saying NFC Championship and Commanders in the same
Can we
title.
Can we just not talk about this game? This game makes me unhappy.
I love this game. Don't talk about the other one.
I
The
mean,
other one makes me
I
unhappy.
think Jordan, Drew, and I all kind of have the same thoughts on this game. Two NFC East teams. They've played each other twice. They've each shared one win, so this is the kind of the rubber match between it. I'm going to let Kane take the floor in just a second. It's the Commanders. They're going to the link. They're playing the Eagles. Chance at the Super Bowl again. Eagles looking for their second in 3 years. What happens here? I'll let you start.
Okay, I would like to preface this by saying I think the Commanders are probably the most dangerous team in the NFC right now. Jaden Daniels, spectacular, probably one of the most dynamic quarterbacks you have in the league. And I mean, he's in an offense that purposely hides and masks where maybe he's not the strongest in some areas. And that's where you have well-timed screens and motions and things that help break down an NFL defense much easier. But the Eagles, in my opinion, are one of the most dominant teams defensively. And they have one of the most dominant running backs. And they do not shy away from handing him the ball 20-plus times a game, where he'll break it for 60 yards maybe 2 or 3 times a game. And, they played each other twice. And in both matchups, one of the quarterbacks went down halfway through. Jaden Daniels had hurt ribs back when Eagles played them at home. And then Jalen Hurts exited the game early on. Week 15, I think, when they played down in Washington. And so it was the Kenny Pickett show, and the Commanders came up, cleaned that one up late, and got the win there. So I think this game really comes down to Jalen Hurts, if he's healthy or not, because that gives the Eagles a deeper run game. Because most teams will just crash on Saquon Barkley if they don't fear what the quarterback is going to do, like they don't fear Kenny Pickett. No disrespect to him. But I think, in the end, Eagles' defense is the better of the two. I say go Birds.
He's a Philly fan, so take everything he says with a grain of salt. As a Dallas fan, I'm going to tell y'all that I will not be watching this game, and that is my pick. As a Dallas fan, it hurts me that Dallas has not been into a conference championship. Every other NFC team has, except the Dallas Cowboys since 1996. It hurts me. It physically hurts me. And the fact that a NFC East team is guaranteed to go to the Super Bowl, I can't do it. I can't do it. But with that being said, I do have to make a pick just to follow the rules. So I'm going to say the Commanders just because I hate them less. And I think Jaden Daniels is probably the greatest rookie quarterback in some time, probably since Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, he's having that level of a rookie season.
Joe Flacco went to the conference championship.
And Joe Flacco as well.
Great name. Great Joe Flacco.
And
Wait,
Joe Flacco.
He's elite. He's an elite guy.
Elite quarterback.
Mark Sanchez? No, go ahead.
Sorry.
All right. They win 2 playoff games.
Eagles legend.
And Joe
We're getting
Flacco
into
did
Tim
as
Boyle
well.
territory now.
But I just feel like Jaden Daniels is on another level. I watched him against Detroit because I was rooting like hell for Detroit, and he couldn't miss. I felt like every time there was doubt where it looked like the Lions were going to be able to come back into that game, Jaden Daniels just had a silencer. And Brian Robinson obviously played a little bit better than he did against Tampa. But I'm going to say the Commanders because I hate them less, and I think Jaden Daniels is a great player.
I have 2 things on my board with 2 meanings. It says America will lose, and it says America has lost, because I don't want this matchup. I'm a Giants fan. And Jordan, the one thing that's different between this and the Lions game is that the Lions backline, all of them are injured. They're basically playing a third-string defense right now. And you can say the Commanders beat the Eagles last time, but these are names that was out during that game, or they got ejected. Will Shipley, Jalen Hurts, Nakobe Dean, Darius Slay, C.J. Gardner-Johnson were all not playing the final snap against the Commanders, which
You got ejected for getting punched in the face.
Who did?
Yeah, C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Punched in the
forgot
face
about
and
that
then
one.
ejected.
Yeah, that was funny.
But Jaden Daniels, he's such a good quarterback. Me and Brian were on a podcast with our good friend Caden too, and I did predict them beating the Lions, which was super cool. And I do not have a bias towards the Commanders, but I think the Eagles take this one because of the defense. And, I haven't even talked about Saquon Barkley yet. Saquon Barkley and that rush defense that the Commanders have, it's Jahmyr Gibbs tore them apart, too.
Jahmyr Gibbs did tear them apart.
Absolutely tore them apart, and they still won. Good for Jaden Daniels. Good for him, for sure. I'll turn it over to you, Brian.
I am the only one here without a stake in this because I am back on my couch in Cancun.
Your game's next. Your game's next.
I don't even want to talk about that game. I'm already upset. I am a Ravens fan, so I am not even in the conference. And I do have to agree. As I threw out Mark Sanchez, I threw out Joe Flacco. I think Jaden Daniels has been the best rookie QB in NFL history. I think he's putting up the best season. He is the first, technically, I believe, to the NFC. No, Joe Flacco did make it to the championship.
He has the most wins.
He does have the most wins, and he's just been dominant in all facets of the game. He was 299 yards,
games, right?
2 touchdowns,
2 games.
ridiculous. But with that, I do think the magical Cinderella story, even though the Commanders own the only 2 road playoff wins in this series. Everyone else is 0-8. They're 2-0. I do have them losing their first one and having the Cinderella story end. I have the Eagles. They're just ridiculous. I don't care how many yards Jalen Hurts throws. If Saquon Barkley is healthy and running the backfield, I have them winning every game. Saquon is just ridiculous. He has the 4th most. Last game, he recorded the 4th most yards in a playoff game behind, I can't remember the third one, but it was Lamar Smith in 2000 with the Dolphins. And the most was Raheem Mostert, I believe, in 2019 with the 49ers.
NFC Championship. Yeah.
Against the Packers. I do not remember who the third one was off the top of my head. It was not Derrick Henry. I don't believe it was.
I've seen Terrell Davis.
I think it was Terrell. It was
Or he has the most yards in a season.
It was in 2017, and I can't remember what it was. But that is what it was. Terrell Davis has the most playoff regular season combined with like 2,400 yards, which Barkley should break that easily. But the Commanders are like 29th in the NFL in run defense out of 32. Their pass defense is very good, but the Eagles run heavy. And you're going to be playing in Philly, tough place to play. The only thing that is for the Commanders right now is the fact that it's 39 degrees and I don't think it's supposed to snow yet, which is really nice. It's going to be a clear day. They're going to be able to have traction on the field. They're going to be able to run. My issue is that you only won a game on a last-second touchdown when you beat Philly, and that was with a backup quarterback, a bunch of ejections, and the fact that you were in Washington on a nice, clear day. That's not going to be the case. You're going to be having whatever said to you by anyone in there, and you're going to have to be trying to stop Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
I didn't even touch the defense. Jalen Carter. You're facing Jalen Carter. You haven't faced a good D lineman yet.
Great game yesterday.
Jalen Carter has been phenomenal, and you can argue Vita
They couldn't
Vea.
even stop him.
Correct. You can argue Vita Vea if you want, but I don't think Vita Vea is even on the athletic state of Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter is phenomenal as a young, I think, 23-year-old, 24-year-old.
Yeah.
His second
Down
year.
there.
Second
Just
year.
ridiculous. He's just just ridiculous.
Jordan brought up Brian Robinson. I don't want to cut you off, but
I'm done.
last time he played against that Eagles front, he had 2 fumbles in the first half, and maybe I think it was like -8 fantasy points or something like that. They shut him down to the point of like ridiculousness. And Jaden Daniels carved up Detroit, but Detroit had nobody on the defensive line. They had maybe Alex Anzalone, and that was it in the secondary. And I just don't. It's like apples to oranges, comparing the teams that Washington has played and the games that these 2 teams have played before. Because again, that Eagles defense played well until that 4th quarter, but it's because they were gassed because Eagles had no offense. And then earlier in the year, Jaden Daniels was hurt. He wasn't at his first full potential. So I think we can sit here and predict, but I just think odds are it's probably going to be the Eagles.
I will say the only player that I don't hate that wears a Philadelphia Eagles jersey is Saquon Barkley. I have a ton of respect for that man, especially the way he could have screwed the Giants, but he decided to play that season despite the fact that, they were going nowhere. So he handled the contract mishaps the right way, which I have a ton of respect for, and I think he is a great player, deserves a ring. But at some point, there's a few things we have to consider. Number one, let's consider the fact that this would be the 5th straight year, if hypothetically it is the Chiefs and the Eagles, that the Super Bowl logo would be the teams. They got to stop doing this at some point. It's got to break. It feels like it's the script is real. There's a conspiracy now. I feel like it's got to stop at some point.
Wait till we talk about the AFC until we talk about the script.
That broke last year because the Ravens were supposed to be.
They made it.
It's supposed to be Ravens-Lions, correct?
Yeah,
They made it.
It was purple
49ers, and then the
Ravens.
purple was Taylor Swift's album cover, is what they said.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a reach.
Of course.
Taylor Swift.
Fun fact about Saquon Barkley: he's number 1 in the league rushing.
Yeah.
Sorry to you Giants fans, but if you take away his first half rushing stats completely,
In each game, first half in each game.
first half of each game, only the second half what he did, he'd be 3rd in the league rushing.
That is crazy.
That is insane.
Somebody
And
said it's Heisman worthy. I'm not going to throw an Ashton Jenkins.
Maybe MVP worthy.
the only shot that I feel the Commanders have in this game is to make it a shootout, to make it where Jalen Hurts has to go toe-to-toe with Jaden Daniels, because if that happens, Philly loses. Jaden Daniels will outshoot Jalen Hurts. But the Eagles' defense is very good. Realistically, I would pick the Eagles. I just hate them too much. I have to root for the Commanders because I have to root for somebody, but I still am not going to watch this game. I'll just hear about it after the fact.
I mean, if you weren't going to take the Commanders, I was. Well, I mean, Brian brought up a good point. The way that Washington won against the Eagles was in Washington. Drew made up a great point that not a lot of great players played. Hurts was out. I mean, whether Hurts will be 100% in this game, but I mean, I have two personal anecdotes. I was watching Monday Night Football. Commanders, Bengals. And that was the game. Jaden Daniels, I was watching this. I'm like, this guy's going to be an absolute star.
I was watching that in the library doing homework.
Incredible game. I had Jaden Daniels in fantasy. I was like, this is awesome. Like, I love football. But, I mean, my first love, or not even my first love, one of my greatest loves in this game has been for Saquon Barkley. I mean, I've just loved everything that he's done. When he was pumping his fist in the snow in a 70-yard touchdown against the Eagles, I'm like, you
Smacking his
deserve
helmet
this, man.
30 yards out.
You absolutely deserve this. So I think the Eagles are the best team in the league. I've said this for the last 2-3 months. And even if they are banged up, I know Nakobe Dean is out.
He's out until like well into next year.
Out well into next year. Hurts is a little bit banged up. He was a little bit stagnant, but I think that
Quinion Mitchell is questionable.
He should be
Quinion
good.
Mitchell's questionable, but they said that it was a little bit better than what they thought. So I think that those are all great factors going into this game. I think Jaden Daniels' time will eventually come. I don't think it's now. I think the Eagles are destined to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, even with those players, Eagles backups have played really well. I mean, like the Rams picked on Isaiah Rodgers, who filled in for Quinion, but Oren Burks, their backup linebacker, played spectacularly. So I think the Eagles, they have a lot of depth.
Such a good defensive room.
A player I didn't really know a lot about, and then I saw that first team all-pro, Zach Bond.
They need to
was
re-sign him.
all over
he
the place.
was everywhere.
That guy's awesome.
95 times, I swear.
Football guy. I think that if
They signed Devin White in the offseason. They made our longtime long snapper change his number, so Devin White could wear number 45. And in preseason, he wasn't getting any rep. They're like, the Zach Bond guy that they signed out of New Orleans is getting all the play time. I was like, what are we doing? We have Devin White. And then before week 1, we cut Devin White. I'm like, what are we doing? And then Zach Bond has been far and away one of the best players I've ever seen play linebacker for the Eagles.
And one thing that we haven't brought up, which is like crazy, is Jordan Davis. Now, I don't know his status. I haven't really kept up with him because he's been overshadowed by his teammate Jalen Carter, who was his teammate in college. But like, he should be out there, isn't he? I don't know.
He's out there.
Yeah,
He's be out there, right? Because like he's ridiculous too.
He's ridiculous.
Jordan Davis.
What is it? 6'4", 40 as a lineman? I don't care what you do.
He's their run stopper, and then they bring in Milton Williams for pass.
The thing is with Jordan Davis is it goes back to when he was at Georgia. He still hasn't reached the point where he's got the stamina to be out there for every play. He's a guy, he's there for the big plays. He's there for the big moments. He's not there for every first down, every second down.
I mean, you won't see him making a ton of sacks, but he stuffs up the run. Last year,
he's a huge player.
Yeah, last year he chased down Josh Allen, went stride for stride with him.
I'm not saying he sucks or anything. I'm just saying he's very, very limited.
Yeah.
He does the dirty work essentially.
Yeah, pretty much.
Jalen Carter gets all the credit. He does the dirty work, and that's how it works. It's a great teammate. It's a great
absolutely. The Georgia Bulldogs are going to possibly go to the Super Bowl.
In 2022, he got hurt when he was a rookie, and their run defense became so bad they had to sign Ndamukong Suh, and I remember
40-year-old was it?
Yeah, they brought him out of retirement, and some other guy, but I'm forgetting right. Linval Joseph, that was the other one.
Minnesota legend.
They had to sign them both.
Yeah,
They had to sign both of them just to make up for Jordan Davis.
Vikings legend, former Giant. What a guy.
He had a pick
Shout out Linval
He had a
Joseph.
pick 6 against the Eagles back in 2018.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I can't wait for the day Jordan Davis gets a pick 6. I was freaking out when Michael Pierce got it. Big man, 360 pounds, got a pick. I'm ready for Jordan Davis.
Jordan Davis, it's when the world is ending.
When I saw
crazy.
I forget his name. It's the defense. I think it's like Sweat's his last. The Texas guy.
Oh, Josh Sweat.
No.
Montez?
No.
Montez Sweat.
Defensive tackle for
Tavondre Sweat.
The guy from
Tavondre
Texas.
Sweat.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the Florida guy that plays fullback, the 400 and whatever pound dude.
No.
Or the one from
not that guy.
TCU, whatever.
I remember seeing that. I was like, Wow, athlete. Anywho,
Yeah.
Peter Woods.
we'll move on. So we have four for the Eagles, one for the Commanders. That's going to be a good game, obviously. Division rounds always keep it close. But I think the game of the year is on our hands next week. I think I said this again when they played each other. I forget what week that was. I think week 6, 7, 9, or 10. It's the Bills. This time they're going to Arrowhead. The Bills hosted when they knocked the Chiefs off, beat their undefeated streak. Now they're going to Arrowhead. Bills Chiefs. They've played, I think, 5 times in the last 6 playoffs, which is crazy to think about. But, I mean, this is what everybody wanted. I don't know if this is what you wanted, Brian. I apologize. But we got the Bills. We have the Chiefs. Tony Romo is going to be really, really happy. It's a matter of who you got, who's going to the Super Bowl.
I really hope they have Colin Cow, or what's his name? The guy from Sunday
Chris
night.
Collinsworth.
Chris Collinsworth and Tony Romo.
no.
Just put salt in the wound and just throw it to me, because I'm done. I got the Bills, and the reason why I have the Bills is not even because I like them or not even because I want them. I just had the Bills because I've said before that whoever won the Ravens-Bills game was going to go on and win the Super Bowl. I've said it on my podcast. I said it on Jordan's podcast. I believe I said it on Caden's podcast. I'm not flip-flopping. I had the Ravens-Packers. I picked the Ravens-Packers. I was not flip-flopping from any of my picks. I'm going to stick with it. But I have never been a bigger Chiefs fan, and I can't even believe I'm saying that. Because I didn't even hate the Chiefs until I watched them play the Texans, and I realized how much I hated them. And then I go to play the Bills, and I'm like, you know what? I can root for this Josh Allen guy. He's nice. I don't care if he beat us. And then I wake up to see their freaking social media team make a post about a video that then pops up and says, sorry, you can't reach the Ravens right now. They're in Cancun or whatever the heck it was. And so at this point, I'm hoping that they both somehow lose.
Hey,
And just it all goes down.
That's us 3 with Eagles Commanders.
Yeah.
The crazy part to me is that I almost hope
I don't mind what happens in that game.
And you guys
Can't kill Saquon. Can't kill him.
you guys could completely disagree with me. I would rather see the Chiefs three-peat than see Josh Allen win a ring. Because I don't want to deal with the Bills Mafia on Twitter, and I don't want to deal with the Bills social media.
Yeah, well, I'm not a Ravens fan, so I can't.
Josh
agree.
Allen is already getting his ring with Haley Steinfeld. Go enjoy your trophy. I want you to get something different. Let someone else win. I'd rather see the Commanders, Eagles, or Chiefs win. I'm just done. And I love Josh Allen. The Mafia is just too much for me. I'm done. So I got Bills. That's my long story. I got Bills. My spiel.
I have another double meaning on my board. I love doing those. It's NBAM, never bet against Mahomes. And also, in asterisk, I have no Bills Mafia, which is going to be absolutely huge in this game because home field Bills, they torment you on social media.
Every single
They
person.
torment the Ravens in person. So, but Von Miller's such a big part of this game. If Von Miller can put pressure onto Patrick Mahomes, this will be a totally different game. If we can get a prime Von Miller to just do what he does best and just put pressure onto the quarterback, I think this game can go either way. This was the hardest game I think I've had to choose between this season in my head for me.
Gregor Russo's out there too.
I'm gonna keep it simple. Drew kind of took my line. I mean, for as long as I remember, I've always taken the Chiefs in the playoffs. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. I don't care if there's some voodoo stuff going down there under the field in Kansas City. The Chiefs keep winning games, and I like their defense a lot. I think their offense is good. They're just going to get better and better, like every year they've gone through. And if the Chiefs won in Orchard Park, I would think that maybe the Bills would take this one, but Chiefs are looking for revenge. I mean, this is one of their only losses. This is one of their only loss this season with an actual first-team roster. I think that they'll take advantage of it. Mahomes has had Allen's number in the past. I think it's going to happen again.
I'm up. I don't want anybody to win this game.
Yes!
If there's one thing about the NFL,
We're in the dark side.
it's that there will always be a golden goose. Tom Brady was that for almost 20 years, and you couldn't turn around without seeing Tom Brady's face somewhere because it's all they would post, it's all they would do. Tom Brady would get sacked, the game would be over. Oh no, there was a flag, it was roughing the passer, he goes and wins the game. And there's nothing you could do. You couldn't argue against it. And then circa 2020, there became a new man in charge, and that was Patrick Mahomes. He was the media's darling for everyone to love. And then the Chiefs just start winning, and they don't stop. And almost every year, it's been Josh Allen versus Mahomes. It's the rivalry of the AFC. No, it's not. Patrick Mahomes always wins. It's like, 2 of the last 3 years, the Bills have played the Chiefs in the playoffs and lost.
They're 0-3 against them in the whole
They're
playoffs.
0-3.
Well, but they lost to the Bengals one of the years, and that's what I'm thinking of. But when those games happen, there's all this media, and there's nobody who really wins other than Chiefs and one man, Roger Goodell. He walks away with cash in his pocket, and we are all unhappy when the Chiefs go back to the Super Bowl.
I'm up. So.
Are we making this a thing?
Yeah, I think we're going to start making this a thing.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to save my board till the very end because I'm going to say a lot of great things about both sides.
I don't want to hear anything great.
All right, first we're going to start with the Chiefs.
Give him devil horns.
The easy thing to say, the Chiefs is still the Chiefs. The Chiefs were 15-2 this season. Dare I say 15-1. I do not count their last game that they threw against Denver to get them in the playoffs just so they could beat them so that they could avoid their kryptonite in Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. That is a rant I will go on for 10 minutes. They threw that game to avoid losing to Cincinnati. But that's another point. However, you have Andy Reid, one of the greatest coaches ever. No, not even a debate. Anybody would say that. You have Steve Spagnuolo, a guy who could be a head coach at so many other places, but he has stayed loyal to Kansas City because he knows as a coordinator, he is a consistent winner of a ring or very close to winning a ring every single year. Then you have Mahomes. Mahomes is Mahomes. Sure, he doesn't need to be. Here's how the progression of Mahomes has happened. At first, he had to be ridiculous. Every single game. He had to throw like 354 touchdowns. Like he had to impress people and impress upon people that he was the guy to lead the Chiefs to consistent success. Now it's to the point he can play average and they can still win. That's exactly what happened with Tom Brady. Because what happened? They got a better defense. The Chiefs' defense is ridiculous. Sure, it's not statistically the best. I don't feel stats matter when it comes to playing Kansas City because their coaching is the best. If you cannot find a better head coach and defensive coordinator and a better environment than Arrowhead. But then you look at the Bills and Josh Allen, a guy that has nightmares about Patrick Mahomes. A guy that probably wakes up with Haley next to him and is like, oh my God, I just had another bad dream about Patrick Mahomes.
I thought of Anakin's scene in Star Wars. When he wakes up and is like worried. Yes, and that was...
Boy,
Sorry.
he has good luck against him in the regular season. In the postseason, however, he has not had that luck. And why? Because all those games have been at Arrowhead. He's 0-3 against Mahomes. And sure, they've delivered 3 instant classics. This game is going down to the wire. Everybody here needs to understand this is a game that is going to be won either in overtime, on a field goal, on a late defensive mistake. It's going to be something. This is going down to the wire. But this is a Bills team that is ready for a ring. This is a team that went to 4 straight Super Bowls in the 1990s and could not get it done. This is the best Bills team that they've had, dare I say, ever. I feel like when you look at this Bills team, elite running back in James Cook, Josh Allen, arguably going to win MVP because he outplayed Lamar on Sunday. You look at their receivers, which, granted, their receiver room, not impressive. Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, declining Amari Cooper, even Dalton Kincaid, not the best tight end, no Travis Kelce. But there's something about the culture of this team that makes you want to believe in them. There's something that feels like it's due for a change. The Chiefs are finally going to meet their match, and somebody is going to dethrone Mahomes. So with that said, nah. Chiefs win. They will three-peat because nobody is stopping the Chiefs from being the Chiefs. It is not going to be anybody that can outduel Mahomes. We've seen it. Anybody that tries to go toe-to-toe with Mahomes that's not named Joe Burrow loses. It doesn't matter, especially in the postseason. We saw Jalen Hurts try to do it in a Super Bowl. Sorry, I know that was painful. We've seen Josh Allen
When's the last
try
time
to...
Dak Prescott was in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, shut up. Well, we've seen Josh Allen try to do it repeatedly.
Lamar's tried.
We've seen Lamar try and
Burrow's
fail.
succeeded.
Joe Burrow is the only guy that has succeeded. We've seen Jimmy Garoppolo try. We've seen Brock Purdy try. We've seen a loaded 49ers offense try. And nobody can knock off Kansas City. And it doesn't start now. The Chiefs win. Taylor Swift releases a new album. everybody's miserable, but the Chiefs three-peat and do something that will be talked about forever because nobody has ever done it.
Yeah, actually, during your spiel, that made me actually think about something. How have the Chiefs retained all their coordinators all these years? Every time we see a team go up against them in the Super Bowl, their coordinators get poached. I think it was whoever.
Steichen and Gannon.
Yeah,
got
Steichen
poached.
and Gannon both got poached because they had teams talking
Ravens
about them.
lost the AFC Championship game and lost both their coordinators.
Yeah, lost both their
Well,
coordinators.
at least one. They had Todd Monken still. He's about to get poached this year.
Ben Johnson just got hired. We'll talk about it later. And they're talking about Aaron Glenn also going too. And then the Bengals offensive coordinator, I think, is now on the Titans.
Didn't the Rams lose someone too?
Yeah,
It's like they're DC. Like
yeah.
every single time you have someone from the Super Bowl.
That's O'Connell is the.
But-
O'Connell. That's
How do the Chiefs keep
Okay,
doing it?
Here's the thing. So, for one, they have lost their offensive coordinator. That has happened.
Bieniemy went and then
but Bieniemy still got two
Bieniemy got a
good
couple
runs.
and then left. He got a couple good runs and left. Spagnuolo, I think there's some coaches that grasp onto this concept faster than others, and they don't need to fail doing it. Some people are made to be a coordinator, not a coach. And I think Steve Spagnuolo has grasped onto that concept. I think Cliff Kingsbury has grasped onto that concept. And I feel like when you look at the Chiefs, they're consistent. Every year going into the preseason, we will say that the Chiefs are either the favorites or one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl. Their roster doesn't need to be loaded, but their coaching stays the same, their quarterback stays the same, their defense stays halfway decent. They're going to be a favorite. That's just how it is. The Chiefs have created the new dynasty, and I think they're going to do something that even Tom Brady didn't do, which is three-peat. And people are going to start having serious debates about is Mahomes on a trajectory to pass Tom Brady. And if he has 4 rings in 5 chances at a Super Bowl, the answer is yes.
I think another thing is Spagnuolo's old. Spagnuolo is 70 plus years old.
Well, that too.
He was a defense coordinator with the Giants. I mean, he was the defense coordinator when the Giants won the Super Bowl. That's why I remember him. But he was also a head coach. He didn't do well as a head coach. A lot of the guys you've mentioned, they're younger guys. Gannon, Steichen. I mean, you're talking about Kevin O'Connell. He's one of the youngest coaches.
Mike McDonald last year was 30-some, 34.
Frank
McDonald.
Wright got poached too, and he's pretty old.
He got.
But most of them are young.
That is,
Yeah.
most of them are very young.
A lot of them
like
are
what
young,
Jordan said,
but
though.
nobody's
Todd Monken's
going to.
money hungry. He's like 60-some, so.
Right. He won a natty and then failed to
as a
win
head
a
coach
Super
for
Bowl.
Bucks
So
as
now
well.
he's going to try and go be a coach, fail,
That's
and
more
go back
of
to being an
That's
OC.
more of a personal vendetta to do.
Right, exactly.
But I do think that Spagnuolo is just going to stay there. I think that he has nothing to lose. There's nothing to gain of being a head coach somewhere else when you don't see I think that he won't be a coach around for much longer just because of just of his age. That's kind of why the OC was lost though. That was kind of the big thing, but they just.
And the crazy thing is, when you talk about losing the OC, nothing changed.
Well, that's because the OC is really just a face card. He's just the name for the
Yeah.
OC. It's Andy Reid calling all the plays.
Andy Reid gets after it.
It's very similar to like who was the Bill? It's Bill and Bill. Bill Belichick was the DC, and Bill Parcells, I believe, was the Giants head coach.
Yeah.
And Bill Parcells just taught Bill Belichick everything he pretty much knew, and then Bill Belichick also had a natural talent. So they just fed into it. So it's more of like a head, which is why they're able to not see that much of a drastic difference. Even when you lose 3 of your top wide receivers, you're still able to fulfill that offensive bar.
And Andy Reid's been around the block too. He went to the Super Bowl with the Eagles. He just seems like he has just this winning formula, and that's why the Kansas City picked
The
him
other
up. They
thing
were
with the
fellas.
Chiefs,
God,
they draft really, really well.
they do.
Xavier Worthy fell to them. They have George Karlaftis, Trent McDuffie
Bolton.
is
Great name.
ridiculous.
Nick
Trent
Bolton.
McDuffie is a top 3 corner, I would say.
Cornell Powell, no, Justin Ross. Clemson.
Yeah, sure, all the clips of people they've drafted too.
Creed Humphrey.
But then they go and
the
make
6th round, Trey Brown. Sorry,
Yeah.
I don't mean to keep going on for this, but yeah, I mean they've just done really well.
But then they go and make trades too. That's the other thing. They make what seem like they don't make a lot of sense when they make the trades. Like D-Hop actually makes sense. It fills a need at a wide receiver position. But you look at it, they haven't really used him. He has not gotten the production. Like he's not the clear-cut wide receiver 1 that everybody thought he was going to be.
Throwing touchdowns to Noah Gray instead.
They're throwing touchdowns to people not even named Travis Kelce. Like, that's what people don't understand about this Chiefs team. Sure, there's a couple big names in Mahomes and Kelce that people are going to, target as, they're the reason why they're winning. It's the supporting cast. And that comes down to the coaching and the quarterback. They elevate the people around them. That's why the Chiefs are the new modern-day dynasty.
And there's an interesting fact that also has to be put in here, like a little bit of a tidbit, is the Bills will be out, or at least questionable, not without. I think they're expected to play. Christian Benford and Taylor Rapp, two of their defensive backs.
Rapp went down. That looked
Teron Johnson went down too. Who's their slot
Teron Johnson went down as well.
Slot corner.
So you're going to be missing a few people in that back end, which is really tough to overcome, especially away on the road. So that's really crazy, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. And it's just, I think I saw somewhere that it was like 15 years, or in the past 10 or 15 years, there's only been 4 AFC quarterbacks to reach the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and I can't remember the
for
fourth.
14 straight seasons.
Is that what
It has been Mahomes or Brady or both in the AFC title game. Ridiculous. The progression has happened. This is not the Jordan to LeBron where you wait like a few years to see it happen. It happened while the other guy was still playing. These are the new 1 and 2 in the sport. I don't even think it's up for grabs at this point, especially if Mahomes gets a 4th ring. It's more like 1A and 1B. It's not even a 1.
The changing of the guard was the 2021 Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
And somehow Tom Brady made it look so easy to beat this guy over and over and over and over and over again in the playoffs, and no one else can do it.
It's incredible.
It's really
That
shocking.
just speaks to how great he was.
Wait, speaking of passing of the torch, can I just propose a question completely
Yes,
unrelated?
please do.
Yeah, absolutely. This will be the final point.
Is Jordan Love worth the money?
No.
No.
Oh.
No.
My question,
I think you got to
are they playing during Toyotathon?
Yes, sure.
If they're playing during Toyotathon,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. During Toyotathon, yes.
He's a dog. 28
Yeah, he's only throwing
touchdowns,
2
great.
picks during Toyotathon.
Sneaky good pickup. I like that.
If you could, no, they were starting to say if you can move, they're going to ask Toyota to move Toyotathon during the playoffs, so that way you can like get him like in the playoffs and he's playing well. He's already signed a sponsor.
I think I saw like a
It was like a
stat where
joke. Toyota won't do it because I think Toyotathon's specific for like Christmas.
Yeah.
But there was like a joke like, can you move it to like
outside of
January?
Toyotathon, he's thrown
President's Day?
29 touchdowns and 28 interceptions.
And during Toyota,
And
it's
during
like 26
Toyotathon,
and
it's
2.
like 26. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something ridiculous. I'm like,
I also like Matt LaFleur December.
that was
Oh, yeah.
Hated, where he's like
Toyotathon
1-2
MVP.
loss.
a TMVP. Toyotathon MVP. That way.
Anywho, that's going to do it for today's episode of The Extra Point. Only 3 games, but, I mean, we obviously took over almost an hour. So thank you to the panelists. I mean, I loved what you guys had to say today, and we got even more decisive stuff. We're going to be talking MVPs. We're going to be talking who takes the awards away in the NFL. We'll be talking about the college football season as a whole. What do you grade it? What did you like about it? What you didn't like about it? The 12-team playoff as a whole. And then, of course, we'll preview the Super Bowl a little bit. But thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Special thanks to Zach in the back for getting this all up on its feet. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Tigervision. But until next time, from Brian Warner, Drew Landon, Jordan Jorgen, Kane Fox, I'm Griffin Barfield, and we'll see you next week. Bye.